Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Brothers Grime podcast. And now, your hosts, Brandon and Randall Witherspoon. Enjoy the show.
Jolene, Holeen, Foleen.
Possibly, well, definitely not my favorite song. Let's put it that way. It's not a bad song. It's just certainly not my favorite. Well, I like it when you sing it. But,
Why do your balls hurt sometimes? For no apparent reason.
Well, there obviously has to be some physiological reason.
No, but
I don't
apparent.
know the reason. Yeah, no, it's not apparent to me. Me either, Fred.
My balls are fine currently.
Yeah,
I'm just
no,
saying.
same here.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah,
like
dude, I know.
Like sometimes I'll just be driving
That's
down the
the
road and my
worst.
left nut will just hurt, and I'll be like, it's the most uncomfortable and annoying thing ever.
Oh, it's the worst. It happened to me like last week. I was just like sitting down, just like watching TV, and all of a sudden it was like, ow.
Yeah.
I went to get up and I was like, oh.
It doesn't
dang.
help. There's no cure. That's the worst
Yeah, you
part.
just gotta wait it out. Yeah, I know that there's such thing as like twisticle, like twisted testicle, you know what I mean? Which is
Twisticle?
well, that's what I call it. But it's like where one of your balls like gets like twisted somehow, and like the thing that like goes from it, you know, the little tube, I guess locks up, you know, obviously because it's twisted, and so that's what causes the pain, whatever inflammation. And all that stuff,
Curiouser
yeah.
and curiouser.
Yes, twisticle, copyright me, but.
Oh,
Yeah, so I know that's a cause that can cause testicle pain, but or you could, there's testicular cancer, which I thankfully have never had in my lifetime yet. But anyway, yes, it is a horrible feeling, and it's I wish it upon no man. That's for sure. Not my worst enemy,
Definitely.
which I don't have a worst enemy. Actually, I don't think I have any enemies. Honestly, do you? I don't think so. You don't seem like the type of guy that would have an, quote, enemy.
Well, there's an entire family that is my enemy.
The collective,
they're
non-existent
all
people in my
equal.
brain.
Yeah. But
Your
we
other
won't- we won't go
personalities. Those are they all hate you, and you hate
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Oh, Lord.
So, I would like to discuss the Amazon rainforest with you,
I would like to
or at least
do
a
that.
little bit about it.
Yeah, please. I don't know much about it, honestly.
Other than it's slowly being destroyed by Homo sapiens.
Cursed Homo sapiens.
Let the Homo sapiens die.
That's it, the worst.
But no, that's not what I want to talk about, actually. I'm not going to go on an environmental, rant. But
Not this time.
Not today. But so there's this spider that lives in the Amazon. I don't even know what it's called. But it's really cool. So it's tiny, very, very small spider, right? So naturally it would succumb to death by a predator. There's other things that eat tiny spiders, larger spiders, for example, and so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
So this little guy came up with a solution to put an end to that. And, so what this little spider does is it builds a fake replica spider in the web out of random shit. Seriously, it
That's
builds
crazy.
this it just builds like a replica spider, so it looks like this spider, like the size of like a human head on the web, but really he's just like this little speck chilling there.
Gotcha. That's genius.
Which is pretty crazy, man.
Wow.
So other things leave him alone, I guess.
Genius.
Yeah.
The ultimate, that's like the ultimate Napoleon complex meets Trojan horse situation.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of
great.
crazy stuff that lives in the rainforest and
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of. I would love to visit
me
some
too.
part of the rainforest at some point. I just want to go to South America. Actually, I've never been there. That'd be really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff down there. My wife went to Brazil on like a medical mission trip, and she swam in the Amazon, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's how they travel to all these remote little villages and what have you. It was like a houseboat that they were on the entire time.
Oh,
That's where
wow.
they slept.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so they
awesome.
took the houseboat up the Amazon everywhere and got off,
Sick.
provided medical aid and, all that kind of stuff. It was, from what she told me, a very, very awesome experience. And
Oh, sure.
I would love to go do that. It's dangerous, though.
True.
And, yeah. But anyway.
That sounds amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, that's like their main highway, I guess.
Yeah,
obviously.
no, it is. Yeah.
They don't have like cars and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
But yeah, on the same Amazon topic, there is the Peruvian River that runs through the Amazon. It's referred to by the locals as the Boiling River. Have you heard of this?
Not at all.
And so it's not the entire river that boils, but it's a crazy river. So, originally it was actually like a legend. Like there's this boiling river, and they had all this mysticism tied to why it would boil, and
Of course.
that gods were angered
I
or
was
what,
about to say that,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Crap like that. But anyway, so somewhat recently it's been researched by U.S. scientists who went down and scoped it out and figured out what the deal was. But basically, they're fault-fed hot springs.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
all along this river. For some reason, there's a high concentration of them throughout this river, parts of the river, and so it actually is pretty insane. So first of all, the river is like 80 feet wide and 16 feet deep and about 4 miles long. So it's quite a large river, right?
Yeah, it's decent.
Which makes it pretty amazing that such a large body of water can, get so hot and boil. That's why they call it the Boiling River, and so it actually does.
Literally boils?
It literally
that hot?
has been known to boil at times.
Wow.
Yes, not all the time. Obviously, it just depends. But yeah, basically, I guess when it gets hot, when it heats up, its average temperature is 185 degrees.
Dang.
Yeah. But it's known to spike up in temperature way beyond that, and thus water-dwelling animals are often seen literally boiling in the water and crap like that. Yeah,
Wow.
they'll die.
Piranha, anyone?
Yeah,
There you go.
it cooks it for you. Just
Go
scoop it out.
Just grab a
Yeah,
fork
a net.
and roll out there.
But yeah. So it was, the river was totally surrounded in tons of, superstition and
course.
crazy stuff like that. But
Naturally.
yeah, I saw some pictures online. I looked it up, and it was pretty wild. All the steam just like rolling off of the river, and some like
It's incredible.
old medicine man like standing there doing a dance around it. And yeah, it was
Nice.
crazy, man.
Wow.
I would love to check that out one time.
That sounds like literally like the worst place to be, like when it's like at peak temperature, because it's like you're already
Right.
like the area is like it's like
Hot,
105
yeah.
degrees.
Yeah, I know.
And you're like, oh, let me just jump into the water real quick, cool down.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's steaming, I doubt they're gonna.
Well, maybe people that some person might not put two and two together. They
Usually,
don't.
I feel like people test the waters out a little bit before driving in.
Hey man, not me. Head
No,
first all the time.
well, yes, it is you.
Well, literally, but that's
Yeah, it's a crazy area, man, and it just there's still so many places that are untouched by humans, and also so many places that that are just so remote that like people they've never seen, like they just
yeah.
these natives that have lived there forever, and they have never seen any kind of technology and stuff like that. I'm sure that number is rapidly shrinking of people who have not been exposed, but. And not just in the Amazon region, but all over the place, man. There's so many remote places and tribes of people that have literally are living like in the Stone Age, man.
I envy them so.
In ways I do. In some ways I do.
Well, yeah, minus medical technology, well, their lack of it.
Yeah.
I envy them for sure. You just
It's
go
a
out,
simple life.
just survive, man. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
that is the way. Would you do it, man? Would you?
If I didn't have the medical issues that I have,
Yeah.
I would definitely try,
Right.
for a little while. Just like if I got accepted into the tribe, like.
Well, I don't mean go live with a tribe. I mean, like, would you just live off the grid and totally self-sustain?
I would try.
Have a farm, hunt.
I would at least I would go for it at least at some point. I'm not
No
saying
running water, no
I could
power.
live that way forever, but I would at least give it a shot.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Give it the old college try, especially
Sure.
if you're single, whatever. You know, you don't have a family,
Right.
whatever. It's like,
Yeah. If all the
see if I
conditions
can
were
do it.
were right, would you attempt it?
I would
Yes.
attempt it. Yes. Would I be successful? Definitely not. But I
Hey,
would.
you never know.
But I
You
would
don't
try
know
it. I grew up in the technology age, friend, as so did you. So it would be kind of hard for
Yeah.
us.
It would be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But the idea of it sounds really
theoretically,
awesome.
it sounds amazing.
Getting out of the rat race,
Oh yeah, you don't have to have a job. You don't have to.
You don't
commute.
need
You don't have
money.
to do, money
Currency
doesn't matter.
would be things of value,
That's actual
like it
valuable.
used to be. Yeah.
Food,
furs.
and whatever I can do for you, and what you can
Yeah.
do for me, basically.
Yes.
The barter system, brother. Let's bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
If only. Maybe one day.
So I'll take a moment to just dream about that.
Yes, the barter system. I was just telling my wife a minute ago, a little while ago, that the key is we need to just overthrow the current system, and that way we can just start over fresh again.
Burn down the system.
Burn down the system.
Keep the fire burning.
That's exactly right.
Teach
And
the youth what they need to be learning.
that's right, which is not about currency. So we just need to completely destroy it and start from scratch and just barter system all the way and help out our fellow man. That's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, and we're not going to go down this rabbit trail, but I'm going to start to go down it and then not go down it. But with that in mind, obviously the utopian dream of let's just barter and help each other out,
Right.
Obviously a lot of people think that's the way it should be. And theoretically, yes, it would be amazing. And I too wish that it could be that way. And maybe one day it will be that way. So, in other words, that's why I don't concern myself too much with the political arena, because
Right.
I know the solution is the whole thing just needs to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But anyway, that's my
You can
rant.
pick it apart all you
my
want to.
little rant, but
Okay. So back to the Amazon.
Yeah.
We were talking about superstition and that kind of stuff. Well,
yes.
ironically, the Amazon area has they have a lot of reported extraterrestrial activities and paranormal things, and it's evidently a hot spot for UFO sightings and all this kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, and the whole area is really just totally wrapped in this superstition and stuff. They actually have, I didn't know this until the other day, but they actually have an Amazon version of the Bigfoot.
Oh boy.
They call him the Mopping Worry.
The mopping warrior?
Yeah, no, Worry.
Oh, the mopping warrior.
Yeah.
The mopping. Okay,
Yes.
that's
And
interesting.
evidently he has 3 eyes,
Oh, nice.
according to some eyewitness reports.
There were 3 eyewitness reports. Yeah.
This is also a land full of ayahuasca, so
But I'm sure they saw it. I don't
Doesn't
doubt
mean it
that.
exists.
Right. Of course.
I just thought the name was hilarious. I had to tell you about it.
the mopping worry. That's amazing.
So immediately when I hear that, without having been given a description of what it would look like, I just picture long, mop-like hair all
Yeah,
over
of
its body,
course.
right? The mopping word.
It's like a sheepdog walking on
And it looks
2
very
feet
concerned.
whenever there's a mess. Yeah.
Does it actually mop your
Well,
blood once it devours you?
I hope so. Oh Lord, that's incredible. So, yeah, I mean, do you know anything more about it, or
No,
that's
not
just
really.
The
It's
name?
just, it's basically the same
Oh,
idea as
okay.
Sasquatch. Only, not really. He's much more of a violent being than Sasquatch himself, than the U.S. Cousin.
He's cleaner, but he's more violent. Yeah. Right.
Well, I don't know if he's cleaner because he is the mop. You know what I mean? He desires cleanliness more so
Yeah.
than
He
Sasquatch.
wrings himself out once he dives in the boiling river.
Yeah, yes, takes a
then-
dip in the boiling
That's right.
river.
And then proceeds to contort his body in such a way that he wrings his own body, which is the mop.
He just twists himself.
Exactly. Oh Lord, I made a motion, but you can't see it because this is a podcast.
He was trying to twist himself.
Sometimes I forget.
We do that all the time.
Yeah, I like making facial
gestures,
expressions.
Yeah,
I
as
also
if
have-
you listeners can actually see.
And I often, because I don't know, it's just what I do. But when I'm listening to somebody speak, so whenever Brandon's talking to me, I nod my head all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. He's nodding his head right now. Actually,
I'm just gonna start closing my eyes every time we record a podcast.
It's like nope. Just gonna focus on what I'm saying. That's all that matters. Oh Lord. But anyway, talking about different creatures in the Amazon and whatever, got me thinking about animals, which got me thinking about the circus, which reminded me that and it's on Netflix. I don't know if you watched it yet or not.
No.
But it's on like the trending now section. But it's PBS made a two-part docu-series about the circus in America.
Really?
Yeah, starting from its inception until, basically it's pretty much gone kind of away, sort of. I mean, it's still around, but anyway, it was hitting like obviously Barnum and Bailey and Ringling Brothers, that kind of stuff. But anyway, so, so as we talked about in the past, like the zoo, and how I was kind of like, if back in the day, the zoo, they would just capture these random creatures, like, and just like, this is your mind now, you know what I mean? Which is not good. I don't agree with that. Well, back in the day, obviously, that's literally what they did for the circus animals. And there was this one specific dude, I can't remember his name, but in like the 1800s, like late 1800s, he was like the go-to guy for circus owners. And he could get you any animal you wanted, from like Africa and whatever. And so he would get like these African dudes, who were like obviously already hunted these animals and whatever, they knew where they were and all that stuff. So he'd get them to go. I'm sure he paid them nothing or whatever, But anyway, so exploited them to go capture these creatures, and they would just put them in cages and then, ship them back across the ocean to the U.S.
That's crazy.
Which is, terrible, because these animals are just trying to survive. And they're like, no, I'm just going to steal you from your environment. And anyway, apparently, like, only like maybe like 50% of them would like survive.
Oh, I'm sure.
And even after they got there, a lot of them died off within a few months just because of the shock or the environment or whatever
That's
it was.
Terrible.
But anyway, so that was terrible. So I never really liked that part of the circus. I've never been like a huge circus fan, but it's kind of interesting. But anyway, so what I found out watching this documentary, though, because I often thought, so like originally it started like, basically people doing weird stuff or like acrobatic things, stuff that was incredible and you had to come see, and then like Barnum had like, like the freak shows and stuff like that, whatever. Yeah. But anyway, so what happened was when these circuses would go through these little towns, the churches and the pastors of these little towns were condemning the circus as like an immoral thing. And so they would like tell their people like, don't go to the circus. It's
why is that?
Immoral.
I mean, why were they dubbing this?
Part of it was
immorality
had
towards
to
the circus?
do with like sort of the what was considered
the gypsies were revealing too much cleavage or something.
Literally, you hit the nail on the you hit the nail on the head. That's what I was trying to say, and you said it perfectly. Part of it was that we're like basically like women were like the
not modest.
You could see their legs and stuff like that, which back then was like whoa.
Everybody had to dress matronly
and also back in the day. Originally the circus was more like directed toward adults. It wasn't like a kid thing originally. And I guess because like, I don't know, adults would be more intrigued with people doing like, strong men things and whatever, stuff like that. But anyway, so again, like I guess there was like the modesty issue and maybe there was, I don't really remember the other parts, but anyway, I guess pastors had an issue with it.
Okay.
So, and mind you, at the beginning, there were no animals. Okay, right. So no animals were being taken advantage of at the beginning, and the people that were part of the circus weren't being taken advantage of because they signed on to be part of the circus. And also, most of these people wouldn't really be able to make money any other way. Like, it showed the example of this lady who didn't have arms, but she could do, like, household tasks with her feet and stuff like that. Yeah. How is she going to make money unless she's doing that for the circus or whatever? So it actually provided a home for these people an opportunity for these people to make a living with it. So it was actually pretty immoral. It was a moral thing, right. But anyway, but apparently the church people didn't think that back in that day. So in an effort to get the church crowd, they began. Aside from like the main show, they had what they called menageries, which basically they would have like all these like exotic creatures and like animals and stuff like that in order to make it seem more legitimate. Because they'd be like, this is God, part of God's creation, and it's sort of like
and they would frame it in a way to like appeal to the church crowd.
Appeal to the church crowd, exactly.
They wanted the church crowd, huh?
They wanted the church crowd because
it's probably a large number of people were the church crowd, right?
Especially back then. That was like 90% of the people.
Right.
So obviously they need to make money, blah blah blah. Anyway, so that led to the eventual immoral treatment of these animals
And
because
every
of the
time
church
you
crowd.
talk about the terrible treatment towards animals, I can't help but think of the movie Dumbo,
Oh, yeah.
which kind of, puts that into a
Yeah,
cartoon display.
Yes, exactly.
Poor little Dumbo.
Well, Dumbo was fine.
His mother was weeping.
Well, Jumbo, the mom, that was the problem. Remember
I know.
that scene, the gut-wrenching scene where they tear Dumbo away?
And she sees red, man. Yeah.
She
she like trashes
Literally.
the entire circus.
She goes ham on
No,
him.
yeah, her eyeballs actually get
Yeah,
red
literally
in the
get red.
cartoon.
Yes.
I can
think
remember it vividly.
that might be based, I don't know, but apparently, without just me just explaining this entire documentary to you, but there was, well, an elephant like gave birth to this baby elephant, and like Barnum, apparently it was like one of the rival ones, and so that was like, this huge attraction because it was like the first elephant born in the U.S. and blah blah
Right.
blah, and so he offered him like like $100,000 for the baby elephant and all this crazy
Damn.
stuff, but. Anyway, but I'm just saying, it's interesting that the, quote, moral people of the day, because of their reaction to the circus, eventually led to this immoral treatment of the animals,
Right.
which we now always associate with circuses. So
That is interesting.
it's kind of a weird irony there.
In an attempt to remove the immorality from the circus, they just introduced further wrongdoing and immorality and foul treatment towards animals.
There you go. Exactly.
Just
So
leave it alone.
Yeah, I thought that was a kind of an interesting irony there.
That is
Kind of
pretty
a weird
crazy.
thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I encourage anyone to go check that out. By the way,
It sounds cool, yeah.
It's a
I'll have to
2-part.
watch it.
Each one's like an hour and a half or something. I don't know.
Right.
It's pretty cool. But the circus reminded me of something else.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about like people who have like interesting like abilities and stuff like that, like, and these people would train, like their whole lives to like. They were dedicated to like doing these crazy things, obviously like
Right.
balancing like a plow on
Walking
their
the
chin or
tightrope.
something.
And,
Yeah, exactly. And so I was thinking about, abilities versus like capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically it's like does most people, I would say, most normal, like healthy people, strong, whatever people, like have the capability to do like almost anything, you know what I mean? As far as like physically speaking,
Right.
Like I could learn to like do a backflip and like,
Right.
like jump up and do a backflip stand, but I'm afraid to try it, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And I probably will never do it.
Right.
But, as far as like your potential,
Yeah.
to do things. But further than that, I was thinking like, I didn't go to college, and I don't know that much. Like, I'm not smart, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not educated, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I have the capability to learn things,
Sure.
just like anybody else does. But to a certain point, it's like each person does have a limitation to their capabilities, I guess. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like, I guess, predetermined or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess, or it could be mentally or physically or whatever,
there could be
obviously.
many obstacles in their path to, achieving whatever it is that they're trying to do, whether it be mentally, physically,
Yeah, exactly. It's just something I was thinking about, like, and I've thought about this before. Like when I was younger, I had my theory of what I called the theory of infinite potential, which basically was what I said before. Like pretty much anyone could do anything. It's not that I can't. Like for instance, like I grew up skateboarding. Still do. Still do up until a month ago. But it's like I would do something on a skateboard, and some younger person or older person or whoever would just be like, "Whoa, like that's crazy! I could never do that," or something like that. And it's like, well, actually, you can
definitely could,
do it.
yeah.
It's not that you physically can't do this.
Maybe you're too lazy to put in the time
Or
that it takes,
afraid
or afraid,
to
or whatever it
try,
is.
yeah.
To you either don't have or don't want to spend the time to practice and learn how to do it. Or you're, like you said, too afraid.
Yeah, and well, really, that's I'd say like the biggest obstacle to doing pretty much anything, like at least physically. Besides laziness, obviously, it's definitely fear.
Oh, yeah.
That's like I always say, like skateboarding is like 90% balls and 10% ability. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know, and a lot of things are that way. Like skydiving.
Oh, yeah.
You're literally just falling.
Right.
Anyone can do that, but
Sure.
well, you have the capability of doing it.
Right.
But do you have the ability to get over your fear? You know.
If you exist, you are capable of skydiving
Exactly.
or falling really, really high.
Dead people can skydive.
That's
You
actually
don't even
true.
have to be
Well,
alive.
Your body would still exist.
Well, that's
right?
true. It wouldn't be well, exactly. You wouldn't be skydiving. Your body would be skydiving. Sky
Actually,
falling.
can you make sure that happens when I pass on?
Dude, that's the best way to go.
We're
just gonna
take
airdrop
my
you.
dead body skydiving
Here's
and
what we're gonna
airdrop
do.
me into the fucking Amazon.
I was literally just about to say we're gonna fly over the boiling river and just like hit the button, the hatch falls out, and you just go
I
flopping.
don't really know if I want myself cooked after I die, though.
Hey, no, actually, think of it as
Hard-boiled Brandon.
it's a service to the local community because then you're providing food for them.
That is just absolutely horrible.
The most morbid thing you could possibly think of. But hey, at least it's helpful. At least no animals would be harmed during the
Unless I were to
dropping of
land
you.
on one.
Oh gosh.
Piranhas.
Anyway, yeah, that's right. Possibly piranhas. Oh, you'd be food for the piranhas.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh yeah, hey, there you go, dude. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nah,
Nothing wrong at
I'm cool
all.
with it.
Oh yeah, I wonder. I mean, this probably never happens, but like, instead of like cremation, just put you in a pool of piranhas, and they will just eat you instead. You know what I mean?
say,
Why not?
look, man, look at all the starving people in America.
You're about to cure two ills of society.
Absolutely.
In one.
When you're dead, you're dead. Why do you got to be all weird about your fucking remains?
That's
It's
it.
nothing.
Who
It's
cares?
meat, just like any other fucking meat. Cook it and give it to the homeless. Done. Problem solved.
That's it, man, dude. I'm voting for you, 2020.
Thanks.
Brandon, 2020. Witherspoon and Witherspoon, 2020. That'll be fantastic.
How do you think that'll go over?
Well, I don't know anymore, dude. People don't care about
Cook the dead and feed the homeless.
Dude, actually,
Vote Witherspoon.
Nowadays, people would probably be about it
Probably.
because to go back to the animal. Like, it seems that a lot of people seem to care more about the creatures, the animals, than the people. So honestly, I don't think they would really have a problem with it. And like everyone's talking about, the homeless, the tent cities, the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Just come in with wagonfuls of people.
Oh my God.
I mean, you would obviously prepare it in such a way that it wouldn't look like a person, obviously. God, I'm not that sick. Come on.
Okay.
But anyway, I definitely think that that would definitely probably go over well these days, honestly. Like, save the whales, whatever.
Yeah.
We can't eat dogs, which that's
Right.
weird to me.
Right.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Well,
I like pets.
yeah.
But I just think it's, and obviously, like, if you have a pet, obviously, psychologically, you probably couldn't bring yourself to, after it's dead, kill it and eat it. And,
Right.
It's just too messed up. And I don't think you should do that. I'm not saying do that.
Right.
But I do think it's kind of odd that there are certain animals that we're like, nah, we don't eat those.
Well, it's because they've been domesticated over years, and they're intelligent, and they have we already talked about dogs. Their ability to form close relationships with humans, and
true.
so they're definitely different. There's many things that set them apart from just a wild roaming beast of the field, right?
I suppose. What about a wild dog?
Oh, well, go for it, man.
There you get like a
dingo.
coyote or something. do they eat dingo? I have to.
Oh, I'm sure the Aborigines did.
Yeah,
I don't know
dude.
that. I don't know that like
The
average
non-Aboriginal people.
Australian, just
Yes.
New Zealand guy or whatever.
I don't think those are interchangeable, but
They sound almost the same.
they
yeah.
are very close. That just reminded me of a funny thing that Robin Williams once said. He was like, like he described the Australian accent as like the redneck version of a British accent, But it's kind of true. Like if you
Kind
think
of
about
is,
it, like
yeah.
it's like you take like an American like Southern accent
Yeah.
combined with a British accent, and you have Australia.
Yeah, pretty much.
And apparently, like, Australian people got mad about that, but
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, whatever. I think it's funny, but
Well, they've disarmed their entire country, so what are they going to do about it?
dude, you're right. That's true. I didn't think about that.
Burning piles of guns.
That's an interesting avenue that we could touch on later. But when I was thinking, well, as we were talking about this extremely morbid subject of feeding dead people to other people, I was thinking about, like... please go ahead.
There's a problem with that plan, though.
Oh, yes.
And that is because then the homeless would develop a taste for human flesh, and then you have the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. That ultimately was going to bring it on.
Yeah.
Which... I guess wouldn't be such a bad thing because
once again in New Zealand or Australia, wherever it was Australia, I do believe. I don't know if it was both of them. They would have to they would have no way of defending themselves against the zombie apocalypse. They'd have to use melee weapons only. That they would have to just fashion out of blunt force objects.
Yeah, the Aborigines would be fine.
Oh yeah, they're good. They're good.
It's just the domesticated peoples that would be screwed. I saw a hilarious picture. Side note. Mm-hmm. You may have seen it too, but it was on Facebook the other day, and it was like the perfect defense in the zombie apocalypse, and it was just a house, and all around the perimeter of the house, it was just treadmills.
Yes, I saw that. That was great.
That's genius. It's literally there's nothing they can do because they can't jump. No. You know. Oh, that's perfect.
Unless they're like that. What was that movie, 30 Days of Night or whatever it was? Those zombies were like...
Super zombies.
Yeah, I always hated those zombie movies. Like, I always liked the original
slow,
actual
stupid zombies.
Yeah.
Like they're real, but you keep it realistic, people. I'm talking Dawn of the Dead. Which that movie, in retrospect, is hilarious.
Oh, I know.
Remember we watched it when we were like 15?
Yeah, and Shaun of the Dead's pretty good.
Well, that's supposed to be funny, but like Dawn of the Dead, like in its time, was probably creepy.
Yeah.
But like they're just the way that the people's like heads just get blown up. Like, it's super random, which just makes
the way that their heads explode.
It's hilarious, but it is, man. I don't know why. And like they're like zombie. It was just like a person that was like painted like a bluish hue.
Right. Blue is the color of death.
Yeah, everybody knows. Good Lord. But anyway, as we were talking about, again, these morbid topics in a humorous way, I was thinking about like humorous people. And we kind of talked about this the other day. Like why it seems to me that a lot of people who are funny tend to somewhat be drawn to having this sort of morbid outlook or be able to talk about these things, and B, like not really be bothered by the idea of death or the idea of these horrible things.
Right.
You know what I mean? That the average person, I guess non-messed up person like us would be like, what is wrong with you people? Everyone probably tuned out as soon as you proposed your idea.
Could have.
But I was just thinking about like if we didn't have humor.
Yeah.
Like obviously life would be super dull, but like I think you would just have life would just be horrible because there's no escape, basically,
right?
From reality. Well, there are ways you could escape reality, but we won't go into that right now. Yeah. But I'm talking about non, substance related ways of escaping reality. Like humor. So, I was thinking about like laughter, and maybe we were talking about this. I don't remember, but like
I think so.
For like that brief second or couple of seconds, like when you're laughing, like
you have a euphoric experience.
Exactly, it's a euphoric experience where you're no longer feeling the stresses
your
of
mind
your
is
life.
altered.
Yeah, it is altered. Exactly, you are in an altered state.
Absolutely, we are quite frequently due to laughter. I mean,
yeah, exactly. That's very true. I think that humor is extremely important. Like, just for humanity, honestly.
Of course. And
because of health benefits, like we talked about. So you're in the euphoric state, and then your body produces, as far as I know, like these, serotonin, your brain sends out, which gives you positive feelings and whatever. And as far as I know, like it can literally aid in like the healing process of your body.
It can.
Which is amazing to me to think about that.
Yeah, it is pretty wild.
It's like an outer stimuli such as somebody doing something funny. It's like somebody slips and falls in a banana peel, and it triggers this reaction in your mind, which then triggers a physical manifestation, which is you laughing, and it somehow helps you. Like, it's amazing to think about.
Awesome.
It's incredible. I love it. And always loved humor, always loved comedy, and
that's why originally we were going to name this podcast Witherspoon Laughternoon.
Yes.
Why I don't know why we abandoned that idea. But
I don't know
guess
either.
what? After we did abandon it, and I'm pretty sure we didn't tell anybody about it. There is some sort of podcast now or show on TV or something like that, YouTube show. I don't know what it is, but it's something Laughternoon. They totally ripped us off. Yeah.
Wow.
Majorly.
Well, there you go.
So it's been taken now.
Yeah. Well, that's the whatchamacallit effect. Remember Dad sent us that text the other day?
Oh, what was that?
It was like, I don't remember the name, so I'm sorry. But it was like 2 names that they gave to this certain effect, which is like you learn about something and all of a sudden you just start seeing it, or like you think about something, or you learn about something new or whatever, and then soon afterwards you start seeing that all over the place or whatever.
Bader-Meinhof phenomenon.
That's exactly it. Phenomenon. Yes. So yeah, it's a phenomenon. It's because it's not really. Basically, they figured out that it boils down to, because you're aware of this new thing, you're now noticing it more.
Yeah.
Like it was always there,
Probably.
but you just didn't notice it before,
Yep.
which is interesting. But I have definitely experienced that before,
Which could lead to paranoia.
i.e. Truman Show-esque feelings.
Right.
By the way, great movie. If you haven't seen it, go. I think we've referenced it before, but you should definitely go watch it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yes, it's fantastic. It is. Now, what's even creepier, though, like to take that phenomenon like a step further. Well, we already know, but like when so ads and advertising on social media, like we've talked about a little bit before, they obviously they target you based on your likes or your interests and the things that you search for and click on. So that definitely like increases that feeling,
right.
Because it's like, but I swear that I can't prove it, but I do believe that our phones, man, like the microphone's always on or something, and it somehow goes into the ether of the internet, and somehow then ad companies are able to target you based on what you're talking about. Because I swear and I'm sure it's happened to you and many listeners.
Yeah. No, it's a fact.
You say something, like I could talk about, not even searching, and be like, dude, I was thinking about, banana costumes or something like that, for Halloween, and then as soon as you get on Instagram or something, banana costumes, 50% off. I'm telling you, dude.
Oh, I know.
It's not right. It is scary.
Indeed.
I don't like it.
Oh, and we were talking about, I can't remember, maybe in 2 episodes back or something like that, we were talking about wanting like a modern day Twilight Zone, like
yes.
very recently. So one of our listeners actually reached out. Do you recall? And
I do recall.
And sent us some info on the latest Twilight Zone. I think CBS is who produced it.
CBS, yeah.
Yeah, so go check that out, guys, if you are interested in Twilight Zone type stuff, which I can only assume if you're listening to this, you are.
Yes.
I have yet to watch the first episode, but I plan to do so immediately.
Yes.
His name was John. John, big shout out to my friend John.
Thank you, Brandon's friend John. We appreciate your service. So right now, I wrote down a couple of things to talk about, whatever, which, hey, by the way, shout out to myself. This is the first time I've ever written anything down to talk about.
Nice.
Because I'm really terrible with being procrastinating. I'm a horrible procrastinator. And
He is.
it's like, I would gladly write something that, like, on my own time, I have written stuff down that I think is funny or interesting.
Yeah.
But as soon as you are like, dude, write some stuff down, I'm like, I don't want to write anything down. I can't write anything. Like, I lose the ability and the inclination to do anything close to writing something down.
That's awesome.
But this time, I did. So
Nice.
hence why I'm getting these random topics. But anyway, as I'm looking at my handwriting right now, I'm realizing, well, I've known this my whole life, and anyone who knows me knows this, but my handwriting is terrible,
Similar to hieroglyphics.
but less understandable
Yeah.
to modern
Somehow.
man. Yeah. And I've contemplated this in the past, and I've written it down. Like when I was like 13, I was thinking about this once, but so when I was in like elementary school and stuff, we had like penmanship classes.
Yeah.
Or it was like part of our schooling,
How did you ever pass that anyway?
Well, I don't know, but like you trace start off like tracing the letters, and they had like it was like the lines that would have like the line on the top, line on the bottom,
Dotted
and then
in
like
the
the
middle.
dot. Yeah. Well, you have kids, yeah, But anyway, so the thing I was thinking about was like I took all those classes and I did all of the same work as everyone else in my class,
Right.
yet like 80% of them have or more have very legible normal handwriting, but mine is just terrible.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Probably just because it's something that you didn't care that much about.
Yeah, I
And didn't
reckon.
put that much effort into working on
I guess so. Yeah. In my
making
early
your
development.
handwriting beautiful in appearance.
I suppose so. And I also, well, anytime I bring this up to, like, when I was a kid, whenever I brought this up, they'd say, "Oh, well, because you're just writing too fast." And I was like,
right.
well, maybe. That's part of it
Right.
to some degree. And then I got to thinking, like, whenever I was in school, like, anytime I had, like, any kind of work, like, paperwork, whatever, like, I hated it. And so I
Right.
was always, like, rushing through it to get
Sure.
it done. And something else I thought about the other day, whenever I got in trouble, which was a lot because I never stopped talking,
Write sentences.
I had to write sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what you don't want to do as a kid? Write sentences. So guess what you're going to speed through? Writing sentences. So, because I was always getting in trouble, I always had to write sentences. At least this is my theory I came up with. I was always rushing through it.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I never took the time, like you said, to actually try to write neatly. And so to this day, a couple things. A, I still hate filling out any form of paperwork.
Yeah.
At all. It could be like 2 lines.
You hate physically writing things on paper.
I hate. I don't. It's not that I hate the act of it. I hate having to do it.
Oh, being forced
Being
to do
forced
it.
to
Yeah.
do
In a
any kind of
situation where you have
paperwork.
to.
Yes,
Have to write. That's funny.
that's much of I didn't go to college, but it's weird. Like I've even like tried to like slow down, and when I'm not in a hurry, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write, and it's slightly improved for
Right.
sure, but even still, it's just not that good. And I write left-handed,
Right.
which I always just attribute it to that, even though that has nothing to do with it, because I know like 12 people who write left-handed who have beautiful handwriting.
Right.
But that's always been my go-to excuse. Which leads me to my next thing I was thinking about.
Oh, boy.
Left-handedness versus right-handedness.
What about it?
Well, I was just contemplating it. Like, it's weird that... Well, first of all, can you label somebody left-handed or right-handed?
If they do everything
Exactly.
with one or the other. Like for me, for example, I'm ambidextrous.
As am I.
However, my penmanship is not very good with my left hand, simply because I haven't developed the muscle memory and never took the time to practice writing left-handed. But I am not. So, like when I swing a baseball bat, I bat left-handed.
That's right.
Always have, always will. Cannot even think about holding a bat right-handed.
That is
But
the
I can play the
weirdest
drums left-handed. I could play the drums right-handed. Lots of other things I can do left or right-handed. But the one thing I am not ambidextrous in doing is swinging a baseball bat. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, that was my point. Like, is that you could never really say this person is right-handed or left-handed unless they do every single thing
Sure.
with that same hand.
You could say I'm left-handed except when I,
Yeah. Or I just do
whatever.
this left-handed, or I do that right-handed, So I don't think, from now on, we can't label people. You're a lefty, you're a right, because
We're abolishing the right and the left.
that's, yes, we are. We're tearing down the system, burning down the system already. Just
That's right.
Semantically. But
Stripping it down.
we're stripping it down. That's right. So,
Trimming
yeah,
the
see,
fat.
I write left-handed. but I always used to say I do everything right-handed except for right, because I thought it was funny, and I also thought it was true. But I realize it's not. I write left-handed.
Okay.
I also use my phone left-handed.
Use your phone left-handed?
Yes.
Really?
Here's the thing. I can use my phone with my right hand as well.
It's just more comfortable.
It feels natural in my left hand for some
Bizarre.
reason. Yeah, I don't know why that is. And same with you. I can write right-handed.
Sure.
But it looks bad. But so does it. It looks bad left-handed. So
Right.
there you go. I'm ambidextrous by default, or just by the fact that it's both terrible. But
Yeah.
and also like kicking a soccer ball, like I do that right-footed. You know, I bat right. I shoot a bow right-handed. Our dad writes right-handed. Shoots a bow left-handed.
bow,
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
Yep.
It's strange that, like, I guess it's just whatever your body feels comfortable with, like you said. You know, and also, is it whatever you first did, or whatever, or are we predisposed to feeling more comfortable with one or the other?
Well, I think that exactly, the latter of what you just said. Like, my daughter is primarily left-handed, and I always used to, for some reason, experiment and take like the pencil out of her left hand, put it in her right hand, see what she would do. It would end up right back in her left hand. Same thing with utensils when she eats and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not like she hasn't had the option to, try both hands. It's just naturally more comfortable for her to hold it in her left hand.
Yeah,
There
I
you
feel
go.
that. That's another thing. I also feel more comfortable eating using utensils with my left hand as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing that, I guess, whatever, just yet another thing that makes us all unique, I suppose. But I don't know. I like to think about it. You ever heard the old urban legend that's like, I don't know if it's urban, but it's a legend that I heard. By the way, where did we come up with that urban legend?
I'm not sure.
It's like, oh, this is a legend, but this is an urban legend. It's only heard in cities.
Go ahead and log on to urbandictionary.com and type in the urban legend and see.
Well, if you're on the Urban Dictionary, you should just have to type in legend.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not.
Well, I don't know. Somebody go do that. But anyway, like I grew up hearing that like left-handed people die earlier than
all
right-handed.
kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah,
like they're at an immediate disadvantage because most things in the world are geared towards right-handed people because that's the majority of people.
Right-handed world.
I don't know if it's still that way.
Well, I know they're starting to make left-handed things, like left-handed scissors and stuff, which they didn't have when we were kids. So that's cool. So thank you, world, for trying to help us out.
Accepting the lefties.
Freaks that we are. You reached your right hand out to us and tried to help us. Thankfully, because we're left-handed. Hey, so there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, shaking hands. I guess. I think.
So do you shake left or right?
No.
You always shake right.
Right, yeah. I think everybody does. I've never been approached with some left-handed. Really? I have if somebody's carrying something or whatever, obviously, but I'm talking about just encumbered left-handed shake.
No. Yeah, I think I would refuse it.
Yeah, get out of here. Just get out of here. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Get a high five or something.
Yeah. Left-handed five, that'd be tough. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I just think that, like you did with your daughter, like, parents should just, like, always make their kids do everything with both hands because, like, God forbid, but, like, say they lose a hand, like, they'd already be good to go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And also, it would probably help their brain development and brain function because they'd be using both sides of the brain more, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, both of my sons are interested in playing drums, which obviously takes lots of coordination and that kind of stuff. And so, obviously, I encourage that. And they're both naturally awesome. Good. It's cool.
It's super cool. I don't have kids, but maybe one day. Who knows? I would just assume they're going to be like really bad at like sports and have really poor vision and really thick hair. Like they're going to be like really disadvantaged in life. So I'm sorry, future children, that I'm your father. But yeah, it is. If you listen to this later in life, you'll understand.
Yeah.
But I'll be long gone. But yeah. So Angie and I were talking one day, and she has like really poor vision, and my vision's not as good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so we both wear glasses now. But anyway, we were talking, like, just thinking about, like, I wonder what our future kid will look like. And basically, she said this, and I laughed and agreed. She was like, you know exactly what our kid's gonna look like? I was like, what's that? She's like, Ralphie from A Christmas Story. And I was like, dude, you're so right.
That's cute.
Because I have blonde hair, blue eyes, and she has poor vision, so there you go. It's perfect.
Yeah. I can see that.
God. Yeah, that would be amazing. Well, I don't know about amazing. It wouldn't be good for him, but I would think it was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. It would be amazingly entertaining.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I don't have kids, but like what amount of, like, poking fun at your children is acceptable? You know what I mean?
There is no limit.
Okay, good. I look forward to that day.
Until they start crying, basically.
Okay, well, that's the limit. Okay, well, there is a limit.
Well, I mean, that's the acceptable limit, right? Like, really, there is no limit. You can keep going. Yeah.
Right. Just depends on how messed up you are.
I don't think I could.
Oh, gosh.
You look stupid.
Oh, man. It's like, if your kid trips and falls and, like, doesn't get seriously injured, like, are you allowed to laugh at them?
That's a laugh zone.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Good.
All systems go.
That's good. Is there like a handbook that I can read?
I could write one for you.
Okay, good. Dude, you should do that. I should say that off air because someone's going to steal that idea.
No.
But you should definitely write a book that's like, what to expect when you're parenting, but like the do's and don'ts of the parent, like the laugh zone versus the no zone, the no go.
I'd have to come up with a clever name for that.
Yes, don't ask me because that was the best I could do right there. That was it. But I'll probably exist now. God, everything exists now.
Yeah.
It's like anytime you like think you think of a new idea, you're like, dude, check this out. There's like 42 of them already. It sucks. But it is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. But anyway, I look forward to laughing at my future children when they fall.
Oh, yeah. It's great. It's great fun.
I laugh now, like at other people's children when they fall.
It's funny. There's thousands, you and everyone else. Look at all the YouTube videos of kids like falling in the snow.
Yeah,
and
kids fails.
Yeah.
Why is it so funny to watch another human being fall? Like,
I don't know, but it's fantastic.
It's so hilarious. I don't understand why. And I'm so glad I can say that to somebody like you who agrees and understands exactly what I'm saying.
It's one of the funniest things I could ever witness.
Well, that's why there's literally millions of fail videos
I know.
on YouTube.
They're great.
It's an entire genre of videos.
That, and you know what else there's a very large number of?
What?
Like punk kids on dirt bikes running from cops.
Really?
Yep.
I have not seen this.
Rap.
Rap.
And They all got GoPros and they all just like.
Really?
So
they do it on purpose.
They instigate the whole thing. They
right.
come out and they get in the road and like do ride a wheelie past a cop in the main road. With on a dirt bike that's not supposed to be. It's not street legal.
That's right.
And the lights come on and they're like, yeah,
here we go. Yeah.
But they're always like freaking out. They're like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, the whole time. And they always look behind them and then they peel off at the last second into some wooded area where the cop can't follow.
I need to get in.
They're actually pretty fun. They're pretty entertaining. I like watching them.
That sounds amazing.
Yep.
Dude, I've been missing out.
Yeah, you need to get on that.
That is a shame that I've been missing out for so long.
Yeah, get on it.
Oh, which reminds me, the only thing I ever wanted as a child, from 0 to now, was and is a dirt bike.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I got one.
Yes, you. I just remembered that. Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
I almost killed myself on it.
So this guy. So our life goal is to somehow acquire a dirt bike.
As children. Yeah,
because for some reason we were just obsessed with dirt bikes. Well, I know why. Our dad used to ride them as a kid, and he told us these like tales of the glory days of him riding dirt bikes, and that's all he ever filled our heads with. Right. So naturally, we were like, dude, we must acquire one of these.
Can you give us one?
No. Dude, buy us a dirt bike. He's like, no. I was like, come on, dude. I mean, my parents have like some property. We could have had a dirt bike. But anyway. Totally. So finally, Brandon, whatever gets in. I don't know. I'm talking to the audience now, I guess. Yeah, abroad.
I bought one.
So you got one, and
YZ250, Yamaha YZ250.
The answer became as to why Dad never bought us a dirt bike became increasingly clear moments after you got it.
When I was hauling ass across the field, riding a wheel stand.
Yes. So this
Lost
guy,
control.
homeboy, pops a wheelie. And I'm like, sick. So like for like 0.1 second, I'm like, this is exciting. And then like at 0.2 seconds, he hits a tree. And like he goes flying, and the dirt bike goes flying. Anyway, I thought he was dead. Like he's like, woo, bang, and then just he goes flying. Anyway, I thought he was dead for sure. He's just lying on the ground, and the dirt bike is just like, finally cuts
You didn't
off.
think it was funny when I fell?
No, not in that moment. Like I was like all excited, like yeah fist bumping. I was like, this is awesome. And then you hit the tree, and it was not awesome. Anyway, you were fine, obviously, but it was. It didn't take long for you to find a way to answer our question.
Yep, pretty much. Well, yeah, because so after Dad would get us all like amped up about like, the fun, aspects of owning a dirt bike. He would always tell us the horror story of the one guy who wasn't paying attention, who was riding on the street and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
face first into a mailbox, knocked out all of his teeth.
All his teeth.
And all that, yeah.
That was terrible.
He wasn't wearing a helmet either.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Or he was wearing a helmet, but it wasn't like a face.
It wasn't a full helmet.
Full helmet. Yeah, exactly. So.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I guess.
So then he would always try to frighten us with that and be like, we didn't care.
But this is why you're not getting a dirt bike.
We're not going to ride by mailboxes, dude.
Like, dude, we don't live in a neighborhood. We live in the woods. Yeah. Right. Which is why you ran into a tree.
I'll find something to hit. Damn it.
Yeah, right. I will get injured. But Lord. Anyway, I don't know why, but dirt bikes are awesome. And so later in life, I got a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, our dad, then wrecked a week after I got it. So it all comes full circle, people.
Yep,
That's what I'm telling you. He told us these horror stories, and like, you're never getting one of these. I get one in defiance. He wrecks it. So there you go. It all comes back around, people. That's all I gotta say. Oh, Lord. I'm looking at my notes here. See what we got. What haven't I talked about here? Oh, so the other day we were talking about, we always kind of drift back to this topic about like humor and like, what does it mean? Like, why are we humorous? And like us specifically, like you and I, like,
right.
Like, why is it that we are drawn toward things that are funny, or we try to be funny? You know what I mean? Like, as a kid, my whole goal in life was and still is to make people laugh, because that was my way. Maybe, I guess, socially, that I knew I could break into. You go into a party, you don't know that many people, whatever. It's like, hey, if I make you laugh, it's way easier to break the ice or whatever, And maybe, it's probably just a lack of self-confidence, honestly.
Yeah. Which
you never lacked, so I don't understand why you're funny, honestly.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I meant to tell you this, and I probably said this before, but, and I mean this in all sincerity. Nice shirt, by the way.
Thanks.
I mean this in all sincerity. You're the funniest person I know.
Well, thank you.
Literally. Like, I
awesome.
was thinking about it. Like, yeah, I met some pretty funny people and whatever in my day, but no one as funny as you. I don't know. And I guess it's funny, like, I don't know. You typically give off a somewhat serious vibe, and you look somewhat intimidating.
Right.
And so I guess people who don't know you, and I tell them that, I'm like, dude, my brother's hilarious. They're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, he looks like he wants to rip my head off. I'm like, he does, hilarious. But he is also funny. But anyway.
Yeah, well, and we have a really close relationship, so I don't know. I probably open up or cut loose a little bit more around you,
could be.
We have a way of feeding off each other. You typically get me going, or get me laughing.
Hence the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, man. That's what we're all about.
Natural chemistry.
That's true. Very true. Yes, a modern day Abbott and Costello. Minus everything that made them funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like thinking about like, why do we try to make people laugh or whatever? Like, is it a coping mechanism, trying to cope with our reality or what, what have you, like I talked about before, like, it's a form of escapism, and it definitely is. Yeah. Because like you said, when laughing, you're in an altered state, obviously.
Right.
And so our goal is to get people into this altered state, oftentimes. But I was like thinking about like people that I know that are funny.
Mm-hmm.
You, Dad, our little brother Hayden, my wife's pretty funny. Your wife's, I don't know. I just know a lot of funny people. But anyway, the point is, every funny person that I know,
Mm-hmm.
at least most, unless I'm not thinking about them, but they tend to be intelligent people, like smarter people.
Yes.
You
and I were talking about this last night.
Like, and I don't know, I assume they go hand in hand, like intelligent people. It's like I said to you last night, like maybe not all comedians are smart, but I would assume and believe that probably most smart people are funny. You know what I mean?
Right, because we were talking about the ability to come up with things rapidly, offhand,
like
being witty, quick-witted.
Yes. Clever, quick-witted,
Yes.
that sort of thing. And equating that to intelligence.
Yeah.
Which
We feel like intelligent people are more quick-witted than other folks, right?
Yes.
Because there's so much information being processed all the time in their brains.
Yeah, I mean, I've met people, and everyone has, like...
Constant flow of ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Like we referenced before, like Robin Williams, Don Rickles, people like that, where it's like... they always have something to say, no matter what the situation. And Adam Carolla, massive fan of him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but he did like a little tour. I don't know if it was just one show or a tour he did. I think it was last year or something, but it was called Adam Carolla is Unprepared. And what he did was everyone in the crowd, well, basically, first of all, like the lotto, like balls that they like twist, they turn a little wagon wheel and blah, blah. Anyway, he had one of those, and he had everyone in the audience write just a word on the ball. Mm-hmm. And then his associate or whatever, his assistant or whatever, would like, turn it, grab one randomly, and just hand it to him.
Nice.
And he would just have to go on a spiel about whatever the word was. And so he had no material written down. He had nothing. And he did like a 2-hour show riffing on just literally random words that were given to him.
Improv as it gets. Right?
Literally, yeah. And
it's awesome.
So there you go. That's a prime example of somebody who's like, in my opinion, extremely intelligent because they have the ability. Their brain obviously works quickly, which before I get into that, there's one other thing I wanted to tell you. Because I've recently been obsessed with Don Rickles for some reason. I just watch YouTube videos of him all the time recently. I found out that his whole entire career, like, he died when he was like 90, and I think he started when he was probably like in his 20s or something. So whatever, like 60 to 70 year career, whatever. He never once wrote down a single joke.
Really?
He never wrote anything.
Wow.
He just would get on stage and just
go for it.
Go for it.
That's great.
And
That's awesome.
He was brilliant, hilarious. And he would just like, and then he started picking people in the crowd and just making fun of them and stuff like that, which no one had done that. That was like a new thing and
a new model.
So he's brilliant in that way.
Yep.
He didn't really have many people that would inspire him in that way because he kind of branched off and did his own thing. So again, that's another sign of brilliance.
For sure.
You break the mold like that, but
indeed.
But anyway, what I was going to say was, as far as like brain function and whatnot, like how much of it has to do with like literally like your physical, like your brain function, synapses and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe which kind of is what I was trying to get back to earlier about like the ability versus capability. Like you're born with like, is your brain going to be like super well, highly functioning, or maybe some people's brains just don't work quite as efficiently or whatever. I'm not saying they're dumb, but you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like just on a physiological level, these people, I guess, were blessed with just brains that work really, really well, versus some like the common,
whatever reason,
who knows why.
We don't know why.
Right. But I guess like the quote common person, is on this certain level. Right. And then you have like these standouts that are, way above,
Yeah, I'd have to do some more remembering and further researching, but I did watch a special about these doctors analyzing a somebody with a genius IQ, you know, an
okay.
IQ high enough to be considered a genius, right? They analyzed his brain and stuff and found some really interesting stuff out. I don't know if they know why those things were happening, but it's been a long time since I watched it. But, yeah, you could always check that out.
Yeah,
It seemed
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
I guess they understand the what that's happening, obviously, because they can see it.
The physical things that are
Yeah.
happening inside of his brain.
But
yeah.
obviously, you don't know why this person's works better than the average person.
Well, they may
whatever.
have
Or they might have I
found
don't know.
out because certain things are connected or, you know, whatever.
Oh, there might be a better, more efficient connection
Yeah,
that other people
right,
don't have or
right.
something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again, a lot of it it's just the luck of the draw or whatever, your
Yeah.
blast or, you know, whatever. It's, yeah. So there's that part of it.
The great programmer in the sky
That's what
liked you,
decides. That's
liked
right.
your character.
Or wanted to have a more amusing character to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But, and that goes back to, so we were just talking about there, like cleverness and wit and whatnot. Like the other day I was thinking about like what is, how does one like quantify like intelligence, you know? And I was posed this question to my wife, actually, as I always do. Like, I test it out on her, and then, like, she gives me her feedback, and then I'm like, okay, this is good. I'll talk to Brandon about this later. But anyway, well, she's like, well, they have, like, you know, like the IQ test,
Right.
which I guess is kind of a debated sort of thing where it's like, does it really tell you?
Right.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, whatever. And I don't know much about it, honestly.
Well, I feel like there's multiple ways to measure genius, if you will, right?
Sure.
And I don't know if the standardized IQ test is capable of testing all avenues of genius, you know?
Right. Because that's the other thing. Well, there you go. Thank you for leading me down the
You're
avenue
welcome.
that I was about to go down. So I was like thinking about it. I was like, well, yeah, I guess, you know, like, and then I pretty much came up with what I just said, which is where, like, you know, has to do with speed of, you know, making brain connections and synapses and blah, blah, blah. But, like, you know, so people go to college, whatever, you know, like you have people that have a lot of knowledge, you know, they're very knowledgeable people, you know, and that's good. People should read all the time, you know. I don't read nearly enough as much as I should, you know, because it improves a lot of things. But anyway, so you have people that are very knowledgeable.
Right.
And who know a lot about a lot of
Lots
different
of information.
subjects. Like, so our grandma was just telling us about, Nan was just telling me about this dude on Jeopardy, apparently, who's like gone. Okay, first of all, I never knew this. I don't watch game shows because I'm 25, but I will one day, and that's not hate on the game shows. It's just I don't have time. But anyway, apparently so I always thought like Jeopardy, like I know what it is, obviously. Like I thought it was just like the show happens and that's it, and then tune in next week, and they get like new people or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works.
Really?
Apparently,
Enlighten me.
so like it literally never ends as far as let me just
Wait.
rephrase that. Okay, I just said that like the most confusing way possible. But anyway, so if you win, it's not like at the end of the episode they're like, all right, you go home with your money, there you go. Apparently you just keep going like into the next episode and the next episode until like basically there's no cap on the amount of money that you can make.
Are you kidding me?
No. So basically, I guess until somebody gets like they lose they lose all their money, get beat, and then the next person, you know, like starts whatever.
Play till you lose.
But apparently, this dude has gone like longer than anyone else in history or whatever. He's been just on the show for he literally apparently doesn't miss any questions at all.
Wow.
And apparently, his strategy, he goes because of course he's like the first one on the buzzer, and he gets, you know how it works. It's like they have the different categories and then the different difficulty levels depending on the money. So he goes to the hardest one, like the most expensive, you know, like I'll take Amazonian culture for 800 or whatever. He goes to like that hardest one and just goes straight across and clears that out first.
Crazy.
That way he won the most amount of money already and nobody else can beat him.
That
so
makes
right
sense.
off the bat, he's already won.
Right.
And then he just works his way down.
That's
and
awesome. The questions just keep getting easier.
Right.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But anyway, so I was thinking, that's what got me thinking about it, really. And so now I was like, this dude's super smart. And I was like, yeah, maybe. But I was like, well, maybe he's just, or is he smart?
Yeah.
Maybe he's just like really knowledgeable.
Maybe he has a great memory.
Yeah, maybe he just like has memorized a lot of information. You know what I mean?
So,
he just,
I mean,
like reads a lot of stuff.
Knowledge is power, though, right? You know, the more you know, I would, a lot of people, would argue that means you're more, intelligent.
I suppose.
But I don't really see. I don't look at it that way either.
No,
You can be knowledgeable and not that intelligent. I feel like.
Yes.
Knowing
information doesn't necessarily
make you intelligent. Yes.
Yeah, that's in my opinion.
No, I totally agree.
You too, evidently. And so that was what got me thinking. I was like, okay, so you have a guy like that, unbeatable, knows everything, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then you take somebody like a brilliant comedian, Don Rickles. We'll just use him as an example. Like his brain. Like, he could think of anything, like, right there. He's roasting people constantly, like, right on the... Or Jim Carrey or Robin Williams, anyone like that, like, just right off the tip of their, tongue, always. Top of their head. Like, to me, that person is more intelligent, like, because they're literally in the moment having to use their brain to come up with... To create new thoughts, like, constantly.
Right.
Versus just... going back in the catalog of information that they have stored and just pulling this file, basically.
Yeah, more creativity.
Which, there you go. That's the next thing I was going to say. Like, perhaps creativity is the greatest, quantifiable way of figuring out if somebody is like quote intelligent, maybe, I don't know. This is just something I was thinking about, but I don't know. Creative people could be more intelligent, maybe less intelligent. I don't know. Who knows? But I don't know. Basically, it's a long, really roundabout way of saying that I think I'm smart. That's basically that's all it's about.
Well, you're a fucking genius, man.
Well, thank you. That's all I needed was validation from you.
You got my thumbs up, brother.
Well, I appreciate that. He literally gave me a thumbs up. But oh Lord.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so before we end this episode, I'd like to remind you guys out there listening that if you enjoy our show, please give us a review and rate the show on iTunes. It helps us out big time.
Absolutely. We appreciate those of you who have been listening, and we hope you enjoy the content as much as we enjoy bringing it to you.
Hey, if you made it this far, thanks so much for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed the show.
Stay grimy.